There's a great lot to learn from your favorite director's early days, and there's frustratingly little coverage on that. You won't even be able to find most videos in a decent quality, leaving you with a pixelated mess that is quite hard to watch and doesn't at all give credit to the craft. If you like this Redditor, you probably haven't heard that director Jonathan Glazer has a pretty hefty music video portfolio. This is a seriously impressive list. Radiohead, Blur, Massive Attack, Jamiroquai and Nick Cave. He's mostly known and renowned for his feature film directing, specifically his gut-wrenching drama The Zone of Interest from this year. All of his films have definitely left a mark with me, especially Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson from 2013. Back then, I was studying film theory and I was reading up on the film after being left absolutely speechless.
I like the idea of taking somebody who was well known and putting them in disguise. Let's do that with hidden cameras. We can really film her walking down a street and nobody knows it's her.
The means of production for Under the Skin, the way Glazer was using non-professional actors and filming key scenes of the plot with hidden cameras unscripted was blowing my mind. Films like Under the Skin, Sexy Beast and Zone of Interest are beloved by a lot of people and are certainly part of many best films of the 21st century lists. There's been an extensive focus on his feature films, but his earlier work consisting of music videos remains not really discussed. Glazer belongs to a generation of directors that were able to experiment and find their style within the medium of music videos. Along with Spike Jonze, Chris Cunningham, David Fincher and many more, he helped elevate music videos to their peak commercial and artistic popularity in the 90s and 2000s. These videos are incredibly saturated with references, symbolism and pioneering techniques that obviously play a huge part in developing his style as a director. Let's dive into Jonathan Glazer's music video premiere in 1995, starting with no other than Massive Attack's Karma Coma.
46. You sure you wanna be with me? I've nothing to give.
Riddled with plenty movie references and lots of surreal, fever dreamy tropes. Clearly, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining from 1980 is one of the main references here, with a central perspective, Grand Hotel Hall, and the twins haunting it. Subtlety was definitely not one of Glazer's early traits. The hotel serves as a setup to then explore all of these different private rooms and the guests within. One of them, a struggling writer, looks a lot like Barton Fink of the Coen brothers' 1991 film. Most of the video is filmed on a dolly on a very floaty Steadicam, which is potentially used to subjectify the camera. Other than that, there's a lot of quote-unquote weirdness on display, which feels a bit forced, exploitational and quite exhibitory. Intercutting all these different glimpses into these seemingly psychotic minds establishes a hard-to-grasp narrative that shares more similarities with the structure of dreams than with real life. The song consists of a variety of samples, ranging from throat singing to Russian opera to Pakistani music, constantly blending between them. Not to say that I know anything about music theory, but I think this is why Jonathan Glazer works so well with Massive Attack. As 3D, one of the members of Massive Attack puts it himself,
he hadn't really sort of done like I suppose what you call in crap terms a pop promo before, so we had no reference points. Our references with John when we met him were strictly about film and about what we'd done before and what he wanted to do. And so it's kind of like a meeting of people who had ideas about film and how they'd like to present music through film.
Glazer was able to translate Massive Attack's musical ideas and enrich them on a visual level that the band members couldn't do themselves, but could still relate to. Sounds banal broken down like this, but this skill plays a huge part in Glazer's success. Apparently, Karma Coma is one of the first examples to use dialogue and sound effects throughout the video, meaning sounds uniquely featured in the music videos that cannot be heard on the original track.
50, 52, 54.
A technique that we will later revisit again. It's these fresh, brave and quite pioneering ideas that really make him stand out as a director. Speaking of fresh ideas, let's look at one of Glazer's most widely discussed and celebrated music videos, Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity. Frontman JK is effortlessly floating through space on what looks like a gigantic treadmill, only confined by a set design that looks a bit like a room in a bank's vault. The camera remains mostly locked in a perfectly centered perspective. Adding to Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity is the insanity of how Glazer and the rest of his crew behind the video actually pulled this off.
The Jamiroquai video, how did we do that? Do you know how many times I've been asked that question? Particularly the set was going to be built on hydraulics and like everything in the set was going to be able to move independently of everything else. The production designer came back with an estimate figure for the build of that of like £280,000, which is like ridiculous. Can't remember what the whole video was in the end, but it was like 150 or something. So we couldn't do that. And we were days away from filming. I can't remember, it all happened really quickly. Because I had this little card model and we were shuffling it around. There was one of the guys on the production team, and he said, why don't we just not move the floor? Why don't we just like move the thing, you know? And I remember people went, oh yeah, great, stupid idea. But it wasn't a stupid idea at all. It was a great idea, because it meant that the limitations of, again, of what we had to deal with would create maybe a more interesting conundrum, something that wouldn't be based on how much money you could throw at.
Glazer seems to really excel at translating the content, mood or atmosphere of a music video and elevate the listening experience to a watching and listening experience. Virtual Insanity was released just a year after Massive Attack's Karma Coma, but I think his craft is way more focused and precise, less overladen with lots of film references, giving JK the best possible space to express himself.
Everyone's very, very excited about it, you know, and like I say, still to this day, people come up and ask me how it's done, and I tell them, you know. And sometimes even they still go, I find myself in pubs sitting with people going, right, here's a room. I get down to the set, and I see all these people, you know, about 25, 30 people all pushing this room. And I can hear somebody shouting, northwest, slow, west, south. So I get into the middle of this room, and they're running the track, and I'm utterly confused. I'm just thinking, what's going on? All I can do is shout out. I can hardly hear the track. And he's going, now walk towards me. Now keep still. And you can see how disorientating this would be if you're standing in there and see, don't touch the wall because the wall wobbles.
The thought of all these grips running in all directions while everybody is shouting at them is absolutely hilarious to me. They definitely had some stories to tell after the shoot. Cockroaches and the Raven are most likely just means of transitions into the tighter shot on JK and to hide cuts. For example, when they switch between having the sofas bolted on the floor or not. YouTuber David Hartley has made an amazing video about the story behind Virtual Insanity that explains it way better and in way more detail, so please check out his video if you want to find out more. The video is nearly 30 years old now, originally published in 1996, but it is in no way dated. Quite the opposite. I think that's why David Hartley's explainer video has 1.3 million views, and hilarious videos like this exists, where someone took the time to stabilize the shot, tracking JK, focusing on the movement of the set.
I think it's time to find a new religion. Whoa, it's so insane to send this out to another stream. That's so
A year before, in 1995, Glazer started working with Radiohead on the music video for the single Street Spirit, working with themes of doppelgangers or warping of time, pushing strongly towards surrealism and the world of dreams, picking it up where he left it with Massive Attack's Karma Coma. I love the extremely contrasty black and white, but it's mainly the interplay with real-time and slow motion, the speed ramping and comping between them that make this a standout video for me. Glazer seems to go back and forth between quite complicated, abstract ideas and more straightforward concepts. In 1997, 1 year after Virtual Insanity and 2 years after his first collab with Radiohead, we are being dropped into the driver's seat of a car chasing down a man in the pitch black night, only the car's headlights illuminating its path. York is sitting in the backseat singing over the driver's shoulder. The camera's view seems to be subjectivized, the audience taking the wheel. The runaway's death seems inevitable until he notices that the car is leaking fuel and with a strike of a match turns his destiny around, leading to a massive explosion of the car. This parabola-like narrative was originally pitched to Marilyn Manson, who wanted a David Lynch-style video after Lost Highway was released in the same year. Manson allegedly flew in Glazer for a private screening, but according to Glazer's own statement, he fell asleep during the screening of Lost Highway, only remembering a car scene, most likely why he then came up with the idea for Karma Police. Manson rejected Glazer's idea, hence the letter went to Radiohead, who agreed to shoot it. I think the video works so well with the song because it places us, the audience, in the driver's seat, but it remains impossible to decide who to root for. Glazer actually disliked the video quite a lot, saying that he missed emotionally and dramatically, and points to the 1998 single Rabbit in Your Headlights by Uncle featuring Tom York as a more successful version. We see actor Denis Lavant walking along a road in a tunnel, talking to himself, accompanied by constant honking and flashing headlights of cars swerving around him, and quite often crashing directly into him, knocking him to the floor. The indiscernible texture of the concrete walls allows the tunnel to be infinite, establishing a loop of Lavant pacing, muttering, being run over, left lying on the floor just to get up again, pacing further. The parallels to Karma Police are clearly visible. Rabbit in Your Headlights also ends with a twist that flips the power dynamic, although in this case it remains an open question what has led to the shift in power. Maybe it is exactly this ambiguity and openness to interpretation that Glazer was missing in his video for Karma Police. Interestingly, Glazer features again an additional layer of sound to be an integral part of the music video, just like in Massive Attack's Karma Coma. Lavant's chatter, the car's horns, him dropping to the floor, all make the actual song take a backseat sometimes even. The video ends with a big crescendo, a visual release of all the previously built-up tension, which seems to be very typical of Glazer by now. See his video for Massive Attack's Live With Me, featuring actor Kirsty Shepherd, basically drinking herself to death.
Crazy. Come and live with me.
She was actually drinking during the shoot, which makes this video even more unbearable to watch. It only finds an end when she literally spirals down an infinitely long spiral staircase, very similar to the car tunnel in Rabbit in Your Headlights.
I want you to live with me.
The themes he's tackling in his music videos translate seamlessly in his feature film work, and I'm 100% gonna watch Under the Skin and Sexy Beast again soon. The directorial pipeline from music video promos to feature films is still fairly common, but it's also still, and has also been back then, incredibly hard to break out or even get your foot into the film industry. With budgets from the 90s and 2000s nowhere in sight, music videos are often sneered at and artistically disregarded, which I think is a criminal oversight, as they are an incredible form of expression, collaboration, and interdisciplinary creativity. I find it quite troubling that there's no actual music video archive, especially with MTV's focus on their reality TV lineup, after Paramount deleted 20 years of content with the shutting down of the MTV News website in June this year. It's just unbelievable. Massive Attack's Live With Me was the only video I was able to source in HD, and that's just because the cinematographer uploaded it on his own Vimeo. I'm having an absolute blast diving into the music video madness of the 90s and 2000s again, and I hope you do too. Stay tuned, I'll for sure revisit more of these classics soon.